Oh, hello. Hi, we're here. All right, episode 192, Kieran? Yeah, 192. So we have the legendary Matt Hale on, and I'm nervous hanging out with you. Honestly, this, as soon as you said that you were keen to come on this episode, I was like, this is going to be so much fun. Oh, this is going to be wild,
I've been
honestly.
wanting to come in and do this for a while, and it was lovely. We just found this little window of time.
Yeah, that's
I know
it.
we've been
Yeah.
backwards and forwards, but yeah, we found this little spoon of time to be able to, just get in before I
before you
dash off again.
Dash off to a show tonight and then go to New Zealand tomorrow.
But I'll be back next week for some more shows.
Yeah, that's wild though. You're such a busy guy.
Yeah, it's been good.
So let's get this ball rolling. So who are you and what are you doing away?
So
could you also pull the mic in a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely.
No? Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's some music going on in the background. Is that
that's
okay for you? That's sweet. I know.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, got to give the ambience to the room.
So my name's Matt Hale. I'm a comedy hypnotist. But that's one of a few hats I've worn over the years. Predominantly I'm probably known more in the last few years, so more in the last 10 years for my comedy hypnosis shows. Currently tour the world with them, but I am based in Perth, and so obviously
toured the world.
Fortunately, at the moment, it means because of Fringe World, I get to be performing at my home festival, which is amazing. So it gives me a chance to be home. So yeah.
And then we were talking just before we went live. It's like you started DJing when you were 15 or something like that as well.
Yeah. It's a long time ago. So I do still DJ now, but I obviously it's not my main gig, but. You know what it's like, that love of your music and getting your hands dirty on the decks. It never leaves you, right?
No, that's
never
it.
leaves you. So
it just stains you almost.
Yeah. So I started when I was 15, and I'll just leave you to guess how old I am. But that was a long time ago. But let me tell you, it was well and truly in the vinyl era of course.
Yeah.
So I started when I was 15 DJing, and I was very lucky. I had a very supportive family, and my dad would actually he helped build all my record crates. He built kind of some lighting cabinets. He built my DJ console and stuff like that.
Wow, okay.
He would drive me to gigs because obviously at the age of 15 I couldn't drive.
Yeah.
But once I was 18, I was old enough to then DJ in clubs, and so I started DJing clubs. And this is in the UK. I'm from the UK originally.
Yeah, whereabouts in the UK where are you from?
I'm from the first county north of London, which is Hertfordshire. So
Hertfordshire,
I always kind of say it's probably about out of central London. It's about the similar distance to Mindarie or Joondalup out of central London. So about in fact not as far. About 40 k's out of central London. So about Mindarie distance, I would reckon.
And then what made you want to come over here?
So that was many years after. So I've been here 20-ish years now.
Okay. Well, let just before we jump up to that part, then. So, what type of DJ gigs and your dad driving around, driving you to the gigs and stuff like that. How was that? Did you ever get to play in clubs or anything like that back in the day?
When I was 15, of course not. No, I wasn't old enough to walk into a club. So I was DJing in just kind of like private events. Yeah, but obviously it was like 21st and parties and that kind of thing. But the moment I was 18, I then started working in clubs. And actually, when I was 18, I got my first overseas contract. So I then actually went to Corfu, one of the Greek islands, for 6 months and DJ'd out there.
No way.
That was in my year off from uni.
The year off.
It was like the deferred year. I was going to defer uni, and start later. So, but then after Greece, I got offered another contract in Malta, and that meant a choice between going to uni or going to Malta to DJ.
You went to Malta.
You know how that story finishes, right?
Yeah. So, what was it like in Greece and Malta? Because Kiki's just pulled it all up, but I've always wanted to check it out. It looks beautiful.
So I was on the island of Corfu, which is one of those beautiful Greek islands. You just have, it's just such a vibe. Although the funny thing is, where I was DJing was it's probably this it's probably the worst look of the island because it's where all the English go to go absolutely nuts, right?
The touristy
I guess
spot.
if you kind of equate it to, Kuta in Bali. Obviously, Bali is just so beautiful, so lovely. But if you want to go crazy, go party, go mad, it's Kuta, right? So it's the same. Where I was DJing in Corfu in an area called Kavos, that was predominantly for all your UK tourists who just come over and go absolutely wild.
Yeah, that's it. That would have been crazy though, because you're 18, you just straight away got an international international contract, and then you're like, yep, all right, let's see where this takes us, and then to go to Maldives, did you say?
No, Malta.
Malta, yeah.
There, so there, and then I think where did I go from there? I think I would have DJed back in the UK around various clubs again, and then I kept hopping around. So I was back in Greece. I did 6 months in Ibiza. So
you're just thrown straight in the deep end at 18 years old. That's amazing.
I think actually when we did the Ibiza one, I was probably mid-20s then, maybe 24, 23, 24 by that point. But
still.
So I was just doing that. I was kind of DJing around the UK, then jumping out and doing a few months here and there in different European destinations.
And then it's like, when did you realise that you wanted to come over here? Because it sounded like you had it pretty minted over there.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So I actually, on the almost in parallel with the club DJing, when I was back in the UK, I was actually auditioning for TV shows for presenting.
Really?
And also for some radio work as well. And I actually ended up getting a job on a radio breakfast show. So I ended up then moving more full-time into radio. I'd still DJ on the weekends, but I was then became like a full-time breakfast show presenter.
But then was that like the news, or was that just between songs?
Just
or
like any commercial station you hear here. When you have I was on the morning crew. Crazy.
That's
I'd go out
awesome.
and do all the silly bits and pieces, and so I was part of that. But when I was there, I also met someone on the station. She was the journalist on the show who was reading the news on the breakfast show. She was from Perth, and we got together. We ended up getting married. We ended up moving back to Perth. Now,
there you go.
So that's why I end up here now. That relationship, didn't remain, but it enabled me to kind of discover Perth, fantastically, and really take it as my home. I mean, I'd been here a few years before that relationship broke down, so by that point, it felt like home to me, or the lifestyle. But strangely enough, in between, when I was doing my first kind of overseas gigs when I was 18, 19, I actually did come to backpack around Australia, and ended up, and I would on a working visa, on a working holiday backpackers visa, and ended up for maybe 3 months DJing in Northbridge for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah. So
what year was this?
Oh my God.
This would have been a while ago, right?
Yeah, I'd have to dust off the old passwords and check, but it's that would have been, let's say, probably, I'm going to say early 90s, something like that, around that
That's
time.
so cool, though. It's like you've travelled, you've done what a lot of people have just dreamt of almost. Playing the Greek islands, playing all over the place, going through Europe, and then coming over here, and then playing at bloody Northbridge in the 90s.
That was funny. That was before I moved here. I never thought I'd end up here, but I had this really amazing time where, and some of the clubs and bars I was playing, and obviously still stand still at some are obviously
like the Brass Monkey and stuff.
Well, I was working. Oh my God, what clubs? There was the Hippodrome, which turned into Deviate. I did
Pinocchio's as well.
The Lady. Where else?
Connections
Metro
as well.
Frio,
Yeah.
I don't know, just all over town. Yeah.
How did you go about? Because back in the 90s, you would have left all your vinyl back in England, right? Or
yeah. Well, this is really interesting. I travelled with some vinyl, knowing that I would probably get a chance.
Get a gig. That's cool.
But there was a really weird thing at the time as well, where certain clubs also had their own stashes of vinyl as well. It was kind of it's quite weird.
Yeah, okay.
I'd never seen that in the UK, but it meant I was able to kind of jump into a club with a full suite of
That's
music. That's
cool though. That's because that's you've got Joe's Juice Joint, for example, and they want very specific kind of genre music. But everyone brings their own records.
Yeah.
But then if you had that, then it's like you can pick and choose from the house selection in a way.
Yeah.
That's awesome
So,
way to do it.
I know. I mean, for me, it was like I was coming over and working holiday.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd end up doing what I was doing in the UK because I didn't think that was possible. But I managed to
make it work.
To make that work. So,
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I actually made some great friends in the DJ community very early on, which kept in touch with over the years, and some still playing around. Yeah.
And then so like from there, then how did you get to where you are? Like with the hypnotism and stuff like that? Because like. So you were DJing in the 90s, and then you went back over to England, and then when did you actually come back over here again and like moved over here?
So I think I moved here in it's going to be around about it's so long ago now. It's actually about 25 years ago. I reckon it was 99, 98, 90.
Really?
99, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I left. So I left a job in the UK. On radio, and came over here, and so I initially tried to get back into radio over here because I had a kind of good pedigree from what I'd been doing in the UK.
Yeah.
But I got told my accent was too English, and could I change my accent? And the answer was no, I don't think I can change my accent.
That's it. Yeah,
this is my accent. That's it.
It's like built into you. But see, I barely even noticed it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's been 25 years now.
Exactly.
Of a little Aussie tinge to it. But during that time of trying to have a look around the radio stations in Perth, I actually ended up becoming a comedy writer for one of the breakfast shows in Perth.
Okay.
So I did that for a little while. It was Triple M at the time when Triple M was first here. And
how does it go? Did you go about like writing jokes like comedian?
Right. So what I'd do, I'd come in super early, like we're talking 3 in the morning, and you'd go through all the newspapers and bits and pieces. And
on like what day though? Like on a weekend or during the week?
No, every day of the week, Monday to Friday. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So you're writing jokes and sketches for the hosts of the show, for the presenters of the show. So you come in and kind of workshop up some ideas and just come up with some just funny bits and pieces, funny takes, funny lines.
Yeah.
And obviously it's one of those things like you put a whole heap of stuff together. Some you're going to just end up using a few, but then you kind of script them out for the presenters to use to obviously make it sound natural. But so that was that. But then I actually end up getting taken on as a temporary producer for one of the stations. It was 92.9, and I ended up getting a full-time role there eventually as the producer there. And
so so as the producer, like what would you do for it? Like would you just run?
You're kind of like the engine of the show, where you basically you're booking guests, you're workshopping with the on-air team and off-air team as what the content's going to be for the next show, what you're talking about the next day, what we want to talk about, what phone topics are we going to ask the listeners about.
Yes, there's quite a lot involved.
Running competitions, writing competition questions, running the phones during the show. So you're making sure you're getting people on air and all sorts of things. Really, it was an all-encompassing job. But because I'd come from like the on-air side of it, I think it gave me a real leg up to understanding the show in a general sense. And it also meant that with that off-air role, I actually then started kind of bleed into much more on-air. So because I was writing a lot of comedy segments, I was writing parody songs. I ended up doing prank phone calls and
that's awesome though.
and so strangely enough, from being told that my accent was what was stopping me from doing well on radio or getting a job initially, it was actually what ended up becoming my gold, because I actually ended up winning 3 national comedy awards for radio.
Really?
Because of
so
some
cool.
of the bits I'd done, but but it's with this voice.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you're spoken, you're easy to hear the whole lot. I mean, as you said before, that little Aussie tinge, but I've heard some English accents where you can barely understand them sometimes.
And when I go home, I do speak a little bit more English. But there's so many different accents around England.
That's exactly
within
it.
15-20 minutes of where I live, you've got people who speak like that, like almost proper London. But then you've got people who speak the Queen's English. Well, now the King's English, I guess. But,
that's it.
And it changes so much in England, of course.
Yeah, so then with that, like that's wild that you won three comedy awards and everything. Did you ever realize that this was the part, like, because you don't. Do you have any qualifications or anything like that at all, or?
Well, I didn't go back to uni.
That's what I mean, right? Like,
yeah.
Because sorry, you go here.
No. So yeah, it was I like everything I did and end up becoming kind of like self-made. You know, like how I ended up in getting a really good role on UK radio was because I just went to do a little bit like a 2-hour, 3-hour training session with someone. Just there was something about what I wanted to do with radio, so I went to this thing, and this guy was running a breakfast show, and he said, "Oh look, if you ever want to pop in, you know, feel free." And it was about 100 k's from where I lived. I was like, "Yeah, can I come in tomorrow?" He was like, "Okay, okay,
sure."
No worries. And, I came in, and during that time, as well as just seeing what was going on with that, he'd asked me like, "Oh, you haven't got any funny lines for this, have you? We're trying to come up with a punchline for this." I was like, "Yeah, what about this?" So they ended up using some bits and pieces. And they said, "Look, anytime you want to come back in here, feel free." I was like, "Can I come in tomorrow?" So I drove another 200 k's round trip. But that was just that driving me to try and make something work. And then I actually ended up getting offered a full-time position with that station. So,
but see, that's where it works out.
Yeah. But, just kind of, I guess, a lot of hustle.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say. That's where it's like you got to put the effort in. That's what sometimes people just think it's just like it can just be like given to you almost, but you really have to put the time, the dedication, the effort in to make your dreams come true. With what you're doing right now, right? I can imagine it's almost unbelievable, right? Like you don't work a desk job, you don't do this, you don't do that, you travel the world doing hypnotism.
I know it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds out of this world.
I talk into a stick, I say a few things, and people do them, and the audience laugh. And we all have a great night, and we go home, and I get a wage out of it.
It's pretty cool. Like, it's a dream job. Like
painfully self-aware about it now.
But then, so how long were you doing the radio for? And then where did it go from there?
So it's interesting. I kind of like almost got out while I was at the top of my game. So I got out. I was working on a major commercial station, but I've always loved travel. I always loved lifestyle, and my wife was my girlfriend at the time, partner at the time. We wanted to have a really big trip, so she was working a proper job, but had been working that proper job for a long time. So her work allowed her to take a year off without. I think it was like long service leave, a bit long service leave in there. But anyway, she was allowed to take a year off and return to her job. Yeah. So now no one in the media is allowed to take the job off for a year. And like, can you hold that role for me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it was either quit and do it, or be afraid you never get a job in it and never chase the lifestyle.
But
of the fun, right?
At the same time, she's got the reference as well, right? So she's done that role, so she can try and get a role similar when she gets back.
Yeah, no, she was fine. Like they held a job for her.
Oh, so they actually did hold it. Like,
But,
oh wow.
But for radio, that media doesn't happen. So I just basically had to quit, and they're like, "What? What do you mean you quit?" Just off to travel the world for a year. So So what happened? Because I kind of backed myself. I thought, look, I know I've done pretty well in radio over the years, and look, you can never walk straight back into a job, but I backed myself to the fact that, look, at some point, whether it takes a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I'm going to be able to find a job somewhere in radio at some point, right? But when I did come back over that year of travel, I actually thought, well, look, this is actually a chance for me to try something else before defaulting back into the media, and that's where it takes me now, because I'd always been fascinated with hypnosis. Always been fascinated with the mind. I just used to muck around with hypnosis in my, I guess, early 20s. I just love how the mind works. Yeah. I'd never explored it as anything like major, just because I had great careers going on. Whether it was initially the club DJing, and then I went into the
How are you exploring it when you're in your 20s? Because you're a professional now, but then back then was just fooling around, being like, hey, check this out, I can do this.
Like, things. Yeah. So basically, because I'd seen hypnotists perform, and look, I liked the kind of the framework of how it was being used in a show. I wasn't overly keen on how it was being portrayed. A lot of the time when I saw it, it was almost a bit embarrassing for the people taking part. It was very funny for the audience, but I would think, look, why not, if you're going to do this on a stage, why wouldn't you make it really fun for the people taking part.
Yeah.
So that the people in the audience, when they're looking, they're thinking, like, instead of thinking, oh, this is hilarious, but I'm glad it's not me up there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be much better that they were sat there in the audience going, oh, my, this is hilarious. I'd love to be up there, you know? So initially, through talking to some old hypnotists and also just reading books on the subject and that, I would just try stuff like, okay, well, it says to do this, do that. I'm going to try that.
What type of books were you
Just
reading?
Really old books from the library on hypnosis. Yeah.
And then like what
Some
other?
were written in like the 50s and things
Really?
like that.
Yeah, because that's like was Houdini a hypnotist?
No, Houdini.
Or was a magician? Like,
yeah, he was a magician.
Okay.
He was an escapologist. He was an illusionist. He probably did dabble in hypnosis at some point, I'm sure, but no, he certainly wasn't known for that. But but there are a lot of old reading on the subject.
Yeah, because it's been around for God knows how long, right? Probably since the 1800s.
I should know better than this, but I think the word hypnos comes from the Greek sleep. It's an old Greek-based word.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's kind of fascinating subject. So people have been dabbling with it and using it for years.
Yeah.
But
and then what other hypnotists did you talk to? Because I've never explored this topic ever.
Yeah, because I was fascinated with how the mind worked. If I knew there was a show on somewhere, and I'd see the show and I'd try and have a chat to the guy afterwards. But now I did find most of them were pretty guarded. They didn't really want to
tell their secrets in a way.
And also back then it was a bit weird. Like they kind of like, oh no, this is a power I was born. It's like complete rubbish, right?
Yeah.
But I think they were very, very overprotective. I wanted it, maybe to be seen more as a mystery art.
The secrets of the trade.
Yeah, whereas actually it's just basic psychology. So I always say, look, it's a learned skill. Anyone can learn it, but I do find that it is one of those things that's quite nuanced, though, so that some people were just obviously more naturally attuned to it. So. I liken it to the fact that someone has tried to teach me how to play the piano before. Now, obviously, you push this, don't push that, don't read that, It just didn't feel. I was very clunky. I was never going to suddenly.
That's it. Become Mozart.
But I found that with hypnosis, you do this, say this. You got to watch this. This language pattern, this word, this, all that. For me, whatever it is within me, that is my character. It just suits presenting that.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah. So, but I do find. I've over the years I've taught workshops on how to do what I do, and with all the will in the world, there are some people there who I can give them every word, every script, every movement, every intention, every bit of the framework I use, but that presentation is sometimes just not going to hit for them.
Yeah. But that's it. It's like you can pick up a guitar and you could play it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but then you still might not be. You want to be good at it, but it's not your instrument almost.
Exactly.
It's just landing on something that actually really, really works with you.
Yeah. So when I it wasn't gambled on hypnosis, but when I just thought, well, I've got a chance to almost reinvent myself here after that year off. I just thought. I said, look, because I can always then look for a job in what I've been doing for the last.
Exactly, you got a backup plan.
So I thought, well, look, let's write a show, put it out there, see what happens. I never dreamt, and I never dreamt, and also I didn't put any weight on this is going to be a career move. I thought, let's do it. It's going to be fun.
That's it.
I'll probably at least put a show together. Let's see what happens. And so I put a show on, and the first show I did, we've got 100 people along, and you're almost crossing your fingers behind your back.
That's it. Yeah.
With a lot of performances in other genres, you can practice the words of your song, you can practice your magic trick, you can but unfortunately for me there's no real practice. You can go through the scripts of what you want to say and that kind of thing, but for when you've got those bodies in those chairs,
you're wanting
there's
to
no
hope
real rehearsal other than doing that with those
you just
people.
want to make sure it works. Right.
So on that first one you kind of like you're all in, it's this or bust.
Where was your first show?
My first show was at the North Freo Bowling Club, I think.
North Freo Bowling Club?
Yeah. And this is how it happened.
Yeah.
Someone knew that I was dabbling in hypnosis, and they said to me, "Oh, you and you do shows, do you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do show." I hadn't done a show. Yeah, I do shows. Oh, you should come and do a show here. Oh, yeah, no worries. We'll come and do a show here. So then that forced me into now I've got to write the show. So end up doing a show there. But we got people who it was a success, and I mean, some of the bones of that show you will still see in my the corporate shows that I do today.
Really?
I do a lot of corporate work, and some of the bones of that original show are still in some of the work I do.
How long did the show go for? And then when you went to write the script almost for of how it play out, has it, because as you said, it's kind of you still got some of the bones in today's script, but has it changed? They added things in, tried different things.
Are so different from where I started with it to where I am now.
Yeah.
I've always like we mentioned earlier, I've always wanted to strip away the mystery. Get let's get over all the cliches. I'm not going to be swinging a watch. I'm not going to be staring at you weirdly. Right? I'm not going to turn you into a chicken. I've heard all this stuff. So let's strip away those cliches straight away. So that has always been. I always wanted that from the start. It's going to be a modern approach. I want people to know what it is, how it works, why it works, how we kind of experience it in everyday life anyway. No mystery around it. So
that's so good though.
Yeah, so that's always been there. But I think obviously when I first started, I probably had a much more formal approach. I would be in my nice suit and come out and do my. I've always got a kind of fun presentation, but come out, explain, and invite people up. Now, if you come to my Fringe shows, especially the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I write a very dynamic show. It's very normally the shows are all I build a new show around what's been big this year. In the year leading up to launching a new show, I'm always like, what's been big? What's the biggest movies? What biggest music?
So that's where the Top Gun thing came into it. Yeah.
So initially, let's say the show previous to the Top Fun one was called Absolute Chaos, but that had a Squid Game routine in because Squid Game had been big and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
So then when I came to writing this current show, when I wrote this 18 months ago, whatever, Top Gun Maverick was massive, and in my scratch pad, all my notes of ideas, I was like, that's interesting. Okay, Stranger Things is out, so much 80s music in that. There's a lot of 80s stuff getting remixed or covered.
Yep.
Right, okay. Guardians of the Galaxy is chock full of 80s tunes in this. I was like, there's a lot of 80s going on around in the general zeitgeist. Why don't I theme the whole show 80s? So that's how this current one happened. But
80s was the best era.
Yeah,
I wasn't alive for it, but I love the music.
This is what I love about it. You didn't have to be there. So so what I think I've benefited from this show is that there's the people who were there and love the memories of it, but they're also the people who are way too young to have been there, but are discovering it because we're all loving the 80s again.
That's it, yeah.
So it's a massive crossover in audience, and I think that's why this show particularly has gone really big for me. So we debuted a version of this show last year at Fringe World, took it to Adelaide. While I was in Adelaide, we had a great run there, but while I was in Adelaide, we got someone from Edinburgh Fringe spotted us and said this would be perfect for our venue. So we went and did Edinburgh Fringe last year. We had
Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
That's the largest in the world.
Yeah. 3,000 different shows over there.
3,000.
Yeah.
How many people go through it? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Probably like 1 million or something.
It would have to be. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So when I did that, and then all my video clips started popping off virally. We did 60 million views across TikTok and Facebook, across Reels.
Wow.
So
60 million views.
Yeah,
I'm sitting with a celebrity.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Actually, that one there, we were looking at one on the screen right now. That one there did, that one did 25 million on TikTok on its own. That was crazy. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, so the show's changed greatly since when I first did. Okay, let's do a few kind of basic routines. So in my first shows, it was let's do a few basic routines. Yeah, you're driving a car and stuff, which I still use some of those kind of really easy routines in some of my corporate shows. And really easy for a big group, for a big corporate group to kind of get involved with. But of course, when you've got, a room full of people who've paid money to come and see you, you know they're up for a good time. They're there for the show. You don't just happen to be the entertainment on the night. They're there for you. So I can take a lot more liberty. So I'm always very creative with the shows, and I think I've grown into myself as well because even at my Fringe shows when I started 10 years ago at Fringe, I would be there in the suit to start with, and fun, but I'd be dressed a bit more formally, and bit by bit, like maybe the next year I lost the jacket, but I'd still wearing a pants and shirt. Then it's like a t-shirt, but a suit jacket, and then it slowly grew to where I am now, where I just was suddenly, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I just ended up just being like, I love silliness, I love craziness, I love just bizarre, stupid fun. And that just represents me in the show now, which is why I'm, in silly outfits in this show.
But see, that's where it's just so wild, because it's like, say with a DJ, it's like it's a time and a place in a way. It's like you're trying to get a dance floor going or provide an ambience for something. But then for it can only be used really in specific locations.
Yep.
Like it's the same thing with just like bands and stuff. But like from doing corporate, like what you said you were doing corporate, but like doing shows like this, doing Fringe, it's so applicable to so many different avenues, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many different things you can do, because like I met you up at a mine site. Like I was doing emergency services up at the mine site. I saw you, and then like I saw you actually hypnotizing some of the employees, and I'm like, I actually want to see if I can get this guy on the podcast. So straight up, like this is interesting. But
so this is what is amazing. One night I can be on the most, let's say, I can be on one of the biggest cruise ships in the world, 1,200-seater theatre with 2 shows in one night, right? 2 days later, I can be up in the Pilbara in a wet mess with, 15 chairs with just knocking the red dust off them. There's a barbecue going on down the other end of the line. But I really enjoy that, because I have such a breadth of how I can work and enable this to be what is my income. So the differences in all the different things I do is really great. It keeps it really fresh. So
So have you actually done cruise ship before?
Oh yeah. I'm off to one tomorrow.
So that's actually what you're doing in New Zealand. You're on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I've got 3 flights to get to Dunedin. So I actually won't get to Dunedin until Tuesday morning.
Dunedin, that's in New Zealand?
In New Zealand,
okay, I've never heard of that place.
I'll jump on one of the big Royal Caribbean ships, which is over there at the moment. I'll do a rehearsal that afternoon in the theatre. Then we'll do 2 shows that night. The next day, I'll just have a day off on the ship. Next day, I'll get off the ship, whichever, I think that will then be in Wellington, and then I'll do a couple of flights home. Finally get back Thursday night, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I'll be appearing in Scarborough.
Do you have like a management team or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. So I
was about to say, because if you did that all by yourself, plus the show, you'd be like, everywhere at once. That's crazy. That's so cool.
It's really great for me to be able to kind of do all the things. But so my partner, my wife, is actually my producer and manager.
Oh wow.
She left an incredibly good corporate finance role,
really,
to become a producer of a hypnotist, and
that's so cool.
And again, we had that kind of like safety net that she was able to go back to her job.
Yeah, just in case
if it fell through. But I think we've worked together for 10 years, so
that's amazing.
So she works behind the scenes, and you'll definitely see her at the Fringe shows. She's kind of patrolling around, making sure everything's
smooth and
together, and
that's
making sure everyone's
so
happy.
cool. But then, so with all of this, like, how did the ball start like rolling and then explode to the point where you're doing cruise ships, going to New Zealand, traveling to the mines, doing this, doing Edinburgh, like because you just did one show at the bowling, like the bowling club, and now you're traveling the world. Like, was it social media that kind of like helped you blow up, or?
So look, let's take it back. So I'm thinking it was around about. It was either 2009, 2010 when I did that first show. So we're coming up 15 years now.
Yeah.
I've always been an early adopter to anything. I love tech. I love social media. I've always been on everything, kind of seeing the power and all that kind of stuff. So, for sure. Even back in 2008, 2009, 2010, obviously I think Facebook was probably really starting to hum then, and so. I would leverage that for sure for what I was doing. But what I had to do is, when you first go, hey, I'm going to be hypnotist, I'm going to do shows, no one's going to say, hey, let's book you. So
that's it,
what I did, I was going around and finding venues which were quiet on a certain night and offering the chance to, hey, how about I put the show in? Because, I was here on Wednesday night last week, there were 12 people here, but, I know we're going to get at least 50 or 60, but we might get 100, 150. You don't know. So
that's it. Yeah.
So I would kind of find different venues and I'd do that. And so building it up like that, just doing these not, I mean, quite often, definitely far from logistically perfect venues, but it also made me bulletproof as a performer, because I was performing in places which weren't perfect for putting a show in. But if I could put a show across in somewhere like that, it only gets easier from wherever
exactly.
I perform onwards.
I say that so often with the DJs that come on here, where it's like if they've never really played a big gig or a club or anything like that, I just say throw yourself in the deep end.
Yeah.
And if you throw yourself in the deep end, then after that, it's going to be a lot easier from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, it would just be so much easier.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you do something that it might be like, a small venue or dynamic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then it's like when you go and play in front of 300 people, 500 people or something like that,
Yeah.
then it's a completely different thing, different aspect. So
yeah, so I think building things up like that to start was really good. And then I just got noticed very quickly. I started getting a lot of like private work from that, like events.
Yeah.
And then I started like, hey, we're in Melbourne. Would you mind coming across and doing a gig over here? I was like, well, yeah, of course. And so I started doing that, and then I got someone who was in the TV game saw me and said, look, I think there's a TV show in this, and we ended up putting a 1 hour special together for Channel 7. And
wow, really?
So lots of things happened very, very quickly, and I think even the cruise ships, because I've actually I actually did the cruise ships for a number of years, and then I gave them up for a few years, because as fun as they are, they also take a bit of time, because quite often I'm on a ship for up to a week, but essentially only doing one night's work on that ship. Yeah. And it's really fun. I mean, you're treated like a guest, so I'm kind of cruising, having the time of my life, but it stops me doing some other stuff. So
was this the 1 hour special here?
What's this? No, it's not, but that is another. I mean, I've done so much TV. That's one of my spots on Today Tonight.
On Today Tonight. So how?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there's. I mean, I still do stuff. I mean, I think, what did we do last year? Last year we would have done the Today Show on Channel 9.
Have you done any
BBC?
You done BBC?
BBC last year when I was in Edinburgh. Yeah.
That's amazing. Did you ever think when you're like 15 years old, you just started out DJing, it's like, yeah, I want to be on BBC one day?
Well, the funny thing was, I think I mentioned it earlier, like when I was in my, I guess, late teens, early 20s, I really did have a desire to be, a TV presenter, right?
Yeah.
I was hustling, I was really trying. I was doing auditions, and I'd get picked from like hundreds of people down to the final 3, and I never actually, I never got that gig. Yeah. And I ended up getting radio, and I loved radio. So then I was like happy, just happy as, right? But the strange thing is that then in this full kind of like 180, like, well, it's come back to where I haven't had to, with no thought of doing TV. It came knocking on my door.
That's so cool though. It's like all the like the everything just lined up.
Yeah.
Everything was just lined up, and then it's just you walk through one door, and then there's the other door, and then you walk through that.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, also very early on in doing the shows, I got asked. I was putting a very big show on at the Regal, the Regal here in Perth, and a show on Channel 9 called Destination WA asked me, if they could do a story about me. It's like, local guy doing well, and they came and did a really fun interview as part of that show. Now, after that show, the producer, the head guy at that show from the production company, Trevor Cochran, big shout out to Trevor Cochran, said, hey, mate, that was great. If you're ever interested in presenting the stories, like, we might have a chance for you to present some stories. Is that something you'd be interested in? And I was like, I would love that. So actually, for the last few years, when my time permits, you'll find me. There we go. There's me on Destination WA. That's me presenting stories. So
that is just so cool.
Yeah, and this show goes out across all of Australia on Channel 9. I think this was for maybe last year. Yeah. We've actually just filmed some new episodes, so you'll see me popping up on the new series.
No idea you were doing this kind of stuff as well. Yeah. I thought you were just doing like sold out hypnotist shows, but you're also on TV quite frequently.
Yeah. So
that's so amazing.
I'm very lucky to have quite a breadth of of things that I do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's all just worked out, and it's all linked up, and it's just.
But that's what I was saying. It's weird because what I do now, suddenly the things that I desired
Mate,
many,
look at
many years
even
ago,
you just there.
yeah, it just came knocking after I'd given up the hunt.
That's it. Yeah. But then, so like when you're on stage, because you're saying about the energy as well, it's like, because I've talked about this, kind of like dives into a bit of like psychology almost, but it's like, say with the DJing world, I had a guest on forever and ever ago. It was like episode 45 or something like that. And the guest told me it's like, basically when we go on stage and we play music, our job is to obviously make people smile, dance, create memories, have a great time, everything like that. But, say if your car gets broken into during the week, or you might have a car crash or something happens and it puts you through, through the gutter almost. When you go on stage, you still have to put that mask on in a way.
Oh, yeah.
And so like with that, it's like, because I mean, like, you're already, I can see, like, you're bubbly, friendly, you're awesome to actually interview and talk to and hang out. But then, like, when you go on stage, like, do you ever sometimes get, like, a bit jet lagged or something like that? And then you just, like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah,
like,
a prime case is the fact that I know I'm going to be quite tired when I get on this ship on Tuesday because I've already, so I'm flying, I've got 3 flights to get to where I need to be.
Yeah.
And so,
that's a lot.
Yeah, and so I'll barely have any sleep on Monday night, but I'm actually performing on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'll be tired, but do you know what? You lift. You become that person on stage. Now, I always say, I don't play a character on stage. I am me. I'm probably a bigger version of me because I'm performing to everybody.
yeah.
But there are times when you're tired. You've got a headache. You
might be getting sick or something.
Something bad's happened, like you say. You're carrying some emotional baggage from something, but you literally step on. But I do find that, just getting changed backstage and just getting kind of prepped, I start to feel excited about a show, and definitely when I play my introduction, it's almost like a trigger for me to it's like an on button, and I just suddenly become alive, no matter what's happened before or how I feel. I just suddenly become that kind of like what I need to be for that hour. Yeah. And do it. And I may collapse into a heap afterwards if there's
something's going on.
If I've been ill or anything like that. But for that hour, I would just give it everything, and it just seems to disappear in the background. Because the show is very intense for me because as much as it's really fun, I mean, I'm dancing, I'm mucking around, but I'm also dealing with 20 people on stage, and so as much as I know what I want to say and words are spilling out my mouth like naturally and normally, but mentally I'm keeping an eye on 20 people and thinking ahead, like, okay, who am I going to use for this next routine? Okay, I'd love to use that person, but they're wearing high heels, so I can't get them up to dance, it's unsafe. So my mind is going
all over the shop.
So it's a very intense hour, and I think having to just be so focused, anything before that is just stripped away, and then.
But see, that's where, like, I would say that's the dream job. See, like, for me, like with the DJing, very similar thing. When I interviewed that guest, like, that was just like a snap almost. I was like, wait a minute, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like when I go up on stage or I'm going somewhere like, say, Rottnest or something like that, as soon as I start playing music, I'm just excited. Like, I'm just in it. Like, I'm staring at my laptop screen, but I'm just like 150% in it. Yeah. And that's where it's like, it's almost just like emotions, everything just gets stripped back. Yeah. And they're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've found the dream job by the sounds of it, which is so cool. Like, do you find as well, like, say, like, health and everything, like, like, you do try and get as much sleep in as you can, or like, because like, if you're doing so many shows and just jumping around, like, how many shows would you say you do a year? Just out of curiosity.
It's funny.
Like.
I mean, I guess it's kind of skewed because, of course, if I do a festival, it's unusual because sometimes if I do a full run of a festival, that might be 25, 30 shows in 1 month. Now,
that's a lot.
Yeah, if I'm not doing a festival, then it might be just a handful a month, because I might fly to Sydney, do a corporate gig, I might come back here, do a public show, I might blah, 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 I might jump on a cruise ship for a week, but, I'd say 70 to 100 shows if I'm doing multiple festivals.
That's a lot, though. Like, how do you manage, like, not burning out per se, but, like, being able to stay healthy on top? Do you do, like, exercise or anything in between,
I'm a massive lifestyle person. So and I've always been through all of my careers. As much as I love DJing, as much as I love doing radio work, as much as I love hypnotising on stage. Like I always try not to let that completely define me. Like I think me is the person who loves to get in the water. I love to get out and get down by the beach. I love to go out for a coffee and see. There's all that.
Yeah.
And so I definitely make sure I get a lot of exercise. I surf for many years. Well, since I moved to Australia, I was not a surfer before I moved to Australia. But
actually, because I remember seeing one of your stories, like you got one of those boards that you what are those things called?
So that's a.
We can look it up. Like,
that's a foil. We call it foiling. So
foiling.
Yeah, foiling. So I'm actually wearing
foil.
Shout out to Foil Brain.
Foil Brain. Okay.
It's just that's a WA company based up in Gero. They've just been
those things. They look like so much fun.
Yeah.
Like,
so basically, it acts like an airplane wing. So underneath the water, you've got there you go. You can see like that kind of wing underneath the water. And what happens is, when you get a bit of speed from a wave, it wants to lift up out the water. And then once you're out the water, you've got so little resistance because the board's not touching the water.
Yeah.
You can go way further than a normal surfboard, and you can keep going. It's a very different sensation.
How far can you go on it? Because I thought.
So what you can do, you can keep going on a very low energy wave as long as you're actually up. But when that energy from the wave dissipates, you can still actually then kind of get a bit of a pumping movement and keep that momentum, and you can kind of pump back out the back. And if you're lucky, you can time it with another wave starting to form, and then you can drop onto that wave and keep going. So it's a really fascinating. Look at this. Oh, this is quite old videos of foiling. It's come on a little bit since then, but but that's the basic idea here.
That's so cool. And so, like, do you use that? Because as you said, like, you go get coffee or go chill and relax. But then this is like your R&R time, right?
That is my wormhole. I'm down for my exercise. So it's an absolute fascination with me. I got one when they were very little known. So I started foiling about 5 years ago. Okay. And now there's all these different disciplines of foiling now. So it started with surf foiling. So we just paddle into the wave like normal and comes up, and we use very small boards on those. But then here in WA, we have such amazing wind that a few years ago, something called a wing foil came out. And so wing foil, if you ever go down to the beaches on a windy day, you're going to see some wing foilers out. So it's I guess similar to kite surfing, but it's a handheld wing, and you're on a foil board, and so you're using the wind to propel you and take you up off the water. That's so cool, though. Yeah, and then now we're doing downwind foiling, which is basically on a sup foil. So we've got a bigger board and a paddle. We'll paddle out 500 meters to the wind line somewhere, and then we'll be able to paddle up on an unbroken lump out the back, and with the wind and the swell lines and the bumps, we can ride that a few kilometres. So
that's so cool.
Start somewhere and we'll end up 5 or 10 kilometres down.
Because that's where it's coast. Like, say like, for example, it's like with the DJing and stuff like that as well. It's like, I find that me just being able just to go off, go to restaurants, go to bars, do whatever, but like, it's like my escape almost from, just being blared with music, just like consistently. But then having something like that, that would just like, you just get wrapped up in just focusing, not falling off. But it's so good. It's become such a fashion. I still love my surfing, but I just find that I foil like 90% of the time now. Right? Yeah, very, very cool. So then, like, what are some of the, like, you probably get this question all the time, but what are some of the interesting things that have happened, like, whilst doing the hypnotism? Like, because do people ever, like, break out of character throughout the show?
Yeah. So here's this is really interesting. So what happens, I might start with 20 people, right? And so what I'm doing, I'm looking for the people who are able to relax and kind of focus inwards, use their imagination the quickest, right? So even at the start, I'm going to ask a number of people to, you can enjoy it much better from the audience. Yeah. And then as we get into that first routine, that's going to really show me, okay, are they very active with their imagination? As in, like, is there movement and or are they very vocal?
Okay, yeah.
So with that, because as much as someone might be super chilled out, but if I'm asking them to be a rock guitarist and go absolutely crazy, we might have a stage full of people stand up giving it everything, But if you've got someone who's like sat there, they're so in it in their mind, but they're just sat there and just like, yeah, it's not visually great for a show.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, look, they're super chilled out, but they're going to enjoy it from the. They're going to enjoy it from the.
So then, when you look
audience.
around through the because you don't have 20 people on the stage, like when you go out on stage, do you just select random people?
No. It's a completely volunteers only.
Volunteers.
Process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I explain, hey, this is how it works. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time up here. Blah blah blah. And again, just kind of allay all those weird thoughts people have got because of old hypnotists or old strange movies they've seen, and just so kind of immediately stamp on some of those, wrong beliefs. Then invite people to come and join me and have fun. And for example, last night, we don't. Quite often we don't have enough chairs for the amount of people who rush the stage to take part. So,
that's so cool.
It's a great problem to have. So if I start with that 20 people or whatever, we're gonna thin that down bit by bit. But even after that first routine, like I said, that's going to really show me some people in there, and I'll ask a few more to head back. But even during the middle of that, they might have been amazing for the first half of the show. But remember, you focus with your imagination. At some point, your focus can become outward again for whatever reason. Maybe you suddenly really needed to go to the toilet because you had 3 drinks before the show, or maybe you felt someone bump into you, or whatever it is, and it suddenly takes your focus, and suddenly you're a bit more self-conscious. So it's very common that during the show as well, I'll be like, hey, no worries, thanks so much, head back. But generally after the first routine, I'll have a solid crew who will remain for most of the show from there, and I'll use them for the rest of the routine.
And then, so how many routines do you have in a 1 hour show normally?
So essentially, I've got like 4 routines, but there's so many bits built into them. So it's a routine, but this happens in it, and it's like almost like a mini story on each one, really. And then I've got a couple of what we call callbacks, where there's I set up a couple of things. So when this happens, this particular person will stand up and always do this, or say this, or dance to this, or whatever. So So outside of the actual routines, I'll fire off a piece of music, and suddenly someone will get up and start doing something again.
That's wild, though. It's just a trigger.
It's like a trigger.
That's so
it's
cool.
really fun for the audience because suddenly, that guy's up again. Maybe 4 routines and some callbacks. But some audience participation outside of just the on-stage stuff, and there's big finale as well. So
okay then. No, that's really it's fascinating. Honestly, it is just absolutely fascinating. But then, so with these routines, what are some of the examples of like what are
some of the routines?
What are some of the routines? As I said, I'm a little bit stumped almost, and just
So I generally try to start them fair. So I start them fairly So what I like to do is because, of course, you're up there, your eyes are closed, you're zoned in. I've hopefully got to a point where you're really got that focused imagination going on. But I'm not going to dive straight in the deep end and go, right, now you're hypnotized, now open your eyes, I'm invisible, you can't see me. You can get to that, something like that, right?
Really?
But, which is really fun because, you can say, now you can only see the bottle I'm holding. And it's like, oh my God, it's floating, because they think they can't see you. Right?
Really?
Yeah. So,
okay.
But that's quite complex. So you've got to work up to something like that.
Yeah.
That isn't in the show, by the way. But it's an example of you wouldn't just kind of go, now you're hypnotized, now you can't see me. We're going to get into there gently. So because the more people are really getting into it, doing some easy stuff, the deeper they're getting into using imagination and getting further down that wormhole. So, I always start with a good musical routine there, either playing some instruments or stuff like that. But it starts easy. Sorry, not easy. It's very easy, that first one. But it starts normal. That's it. Stretch your arms out. Play those keyboards. Yeah. But then we start just to tweak it sideways so it goes a bit funnier. So now play the keys with your nose, right? Because that's stupid, right? And it sounds so basic and so silly, but when you see 20 grown adults playing an imaginary keyboard with their nose, it's funny.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah,
and then things get more weird from there. So you kind of ratchet it up, and then of course throughout the routines they get sillier and sillier. So by the end of it, you know, there's
It's just
all sorts of bizarre noises, dances going on,
yeah,
craziness.
yeah. Because from the videos I've seen, it's wild. It's like
It's
I saw an advert earlier because like through the sponsorship or whatever, but it was like someone rolling around on the floor, like a lady like doing some sort of like modeling.
Some modeling maybe. Or
Yeah,
something.
that's it. Yeah. Like, let's see if
Yeah.
you found it. Like, it was just wild. It was just sitting there thinking like, how do you get people to do this?
Yeah,
Like,
so there's our cheerleader guy up on the screen there.
it's so
he's
good.
the cheerleader. We've got everyone's going footloose crazy at the end there.
So with the process of that, so it's like people volunteer to come up on stage.
Yep.
So then like you just pick out who you want, and then you go, okay, yep.
Oh, I don't pick anyone.
Well,
I
no,
literally
just-
take as many people on the stage
yeah, okay.
until the seats are full.
Yeah, yep,
and then
yep.
that's who we
And
use.
then
Yeah.
But then with that, then what is the process of getting them ready to hypnotize?
So
Be hypnotized?
Yeah, so then I have a few minutes process where I go through what we call traditionally we call the hypnotic induction. I just say, look, we're going to relax you down.
Hypnotic induction.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just not a lover of these old kind of like words because they sound weird.
Yeah.
So I always say, look, we're going to relax. You know, relax you down, get your focus, that imagination in, because you can connect with that a little bit better. But yeah, so during that, I'm going through a process of getting people to, you know, direct your mind here, think of this, now think of that, and there's, you know, psychological reasons why I'm doing this. I'm just bit by bit getting them away from like, oh, there's a crowd looking at me, oh, the lights are bright, or I'm on a stage, you know. I'm keeping their mind busy, but also at the same time relaxing them. And now, imagine this, you know, now you can't open your eyes because it's kind of weird, isn't it? Oh, I can't open my eyes. And so, you know, bit by bit, I'm just building this kind of process through. So relaxation, imagination, and at the end of those few minutes, you know, we've got a good group of people who are able to move into the guts of the show then.
Yeah. That is just so fascinating. Like,
yeah, it's
like,
a fun process. I really find the audience love watching that process as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not long, it's fairly quick, and they kind of almost follow along, because as I'm going, you're going to start to see people go from like being like kind of fairly stiff in their seat to, you know, super chilled,
yeah,
start to really
relaxed.
relaxing down.
Yeah.
But some people won't, and so it's kind of interesting because the audience can almost follow along and almost second guess who I'm going to ask to head back to the audience. They're like, you know, so you're probably going to think, oh God, look at that person! Wow, they are so gone.
Yeah, so
And
into it.
this
Yeah.
person, they're having a harder time. Oh, I thought he was going to send her back. You know? And obviously, there's a lot more nuanced things that I'm also looking for, which the audience won't pick up on.
Yeah.
So sometimes people are surprised when I say, "Oh no, I think you're going to enjoy it." And they're like, "Why did you get rid of this person?" But there's some other things I'm looking for. But generally, I do like the fact that the audience can almost follow along the process.
Yeah. And then so like prior to the show, do you give people like not so much like rules, but like a guide almost, being like, this is what you're getting yourself into if you do, like, maybe not if you go on stage, but even if you just attend the show? Because I can imagine it's just so wild that like you could snap your fingers and then everyone's out. Like,
if only it was like that. I'd be making my money something very differently. Yeah. Sleep, the whole audience out. Okay, now when you wake up, you'll believe your wallet is mine and you return it to me. Open your eyes.
Yeah, I just mean like with people on stage though, because when you get them into that state though, but then like,
I know I always explain in the start what it's going to be, how it's going to feel, what it's like, how this state of mind, you use it in different areas of life already.
Yeah.
We when we watch a movie, we just become so involved in it. If it's a great movie, we'll become so involved in it. You know, things will be going on. Someone might be trying to talk to you, and you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. You might not even know what you've agreed to, but you're watching the movie. You know, something happens. You know, like the crazy murderer guy comes out and stabs someone. Oh my God, your heart races faster.
Yeah.
But know, it's just actors.
Yeah, that's it.
But at the time, it feels real.
Yeah.
When the dog dies in the movie, oh my God, those tears start flowing because it feels real.
Yeah, that's
But when you strip it back, it's not real, is it? You know that dog's still running around.
That's it. It's theatre. It's entertainment almost.
So
yeah.
Our brain has that ability to make things feel real in that moment. So I just explained, we do this already. That's exactly what I'm going to do up here on purpose. We're going to make things feel real in the moment. So it's just imagination.
It's just so cool.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like guests after the show or anything like that, just want to come and talk to you and like just tell them exactly like what they've felt and how it was and everything? Like,
and I love speaking to people after the show. I always kind of rush down and chat to everyone after the show as they
Because
come
it's almost
out.
like they're fans in a way.
Yeah, but it's really nice. But people,
Yeah.
but people do have questions, especially. I mean, there's people who have questions who are watching, like, oh my god, I've never been to something like this.
Yeah,
What?
that's
You know?
it. Yeah.
But then people who've taken part, they're like, oh my god, it was crazy. Like, I only came up here just, I didn't even, I had no idea about what it was. I was like, I don't think I could be good at this. And then, what? Like, how did I? You know,
Yeah, how did you do that? Yeah.
You know, and I always say to them, how long did it feel like you're up there for? And it's so common for people to go, I don't know, about 5 minutes. It's like, you're up there about an hour. They're like, what?
Yeah, that's
Where
it.
did that,
Yeah.
Where did that time go?
Yeah,
So,
time always flies when you're
Yeah,
having fun.
yeah.
Like, it just flies by.
Yeah, and their kind of mind is just kind of quieting down, and it's just they're just going autopilot for everything else that's going on. So,
Yeah.
so you're always chatting to people afterwards about their experience or questions they've got. And, yeah.
Do you record the shows as
Yeah,
well, or
yeah,
anything?
yeah,
So
yeah,
then, like,
yeah.
with the guests that do go up and get hypnotized, do you ever, like, if they want, they can get a copy of it or anything? Or-
Do you know what? We used to, a few years ago, we used to actually take DVD burning materials to we take whole DVD duplicator stacks within 20 minutes of the show finishing. You know, you can
Really?
actually buy a DVD of the show and that. But look, do you know what? Over a few years, the thing is now, we allow anyone who wants to take a photo and take a video during the show, far from saying, please don't do that, we encourage it. We're like,
Yeah.
take them, share it with your friends, even just take it of the people so they can have a great fun afterwards. You know, everyone's got your phones, everyone's got great video cameras now, so we're more than happy for you to take the video. So we don't sell video now. Obviously, I use it for clips online, so it's great because when we have some real, you know, we have crazy moments every night, so I can go through and kind of like, okay, let's put a few of those crazy moments up. So that's why predominantly I film the show now.
That's so good,
Yeah.
though. That is really cool, because that's the thing. It's like, instead of going, no cameras, no photography, it's like you're working with everyone.
Yeah, but it works for me because, you know,
Yeah.
like that gives me a broader audience because someone
Yeah.
stuffs me on a story. Then you know that's going out to all their
That's
their
it, all
Instagram
their-
followers
yeah.
that that have never heard of me or never seen anything like that before, and we get quite a lot of people who are like, oh my god, I saw you on my friend's story the other day. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That it's just amazing. It's just like
Yeah.
this whole story is just
yeah,
amazing
yeah.
how everything's just come together.
Yeah.
And like, it seems like you've really thought out like everything in a way, just to be able to make it happen. Like,
I always say it's kind of like hard work making it look this easy.
yeah, because I can imagine it's like behind the scenes there is a lot of work that goes into not just the
Yeah.
shows, but the planning, like organizing flights, like bookings,
Yeah.
like making sure everything runs smoothly. Do you have much set dressings as well? Like, it looks like just like
So
a blank
actually,
stage almost.
So actually, this year's show, I don't work with many props, which is great. So as long as we've got 20 chairs on stage, but we do use a big projector screen. This is an old show here from maybe Adelaide last year, but we use the lighting. We do go through some lighting cues and make sure we have specific lighting cues
Yeah.
that kind of really work in with everything that's going on. But generally, where you see me, we always try and work somewhere, if possible, with a big screen.
Yeah.
If that's available, it just helps the vibe of the show as well. But we're very lucky that we don't have. I can literally lose my luggage and still do a show somewhere, you know, because
Has that ever happened? Or?
Yeah, it has. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Where did it
For
happen?
a cruise
Like-
ship gig, I'd been doing some theatres in Tassie, and I had to fly back to Sydney to get on a cruise ship. And between Tassie and Sydney, they lost my luggage, but I just had to get on, and I just bought a few things in Sydney just before I got on the ship, just to take me through. But
Okay.
you know, as long as I got my kind of music in my hand luggage on my phone, on my iPad.
Yeah.
But I could even just download it, even if I lost those anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what type
Very
of
lucky.
music do you use for it? Because I noticed that you got Endorse involved for...
Oh,
that was
so
for
that's
the...
for a completely different project.
Yeah,
Completely
yeah.
different project. So we can kind of bang our way into that in a moment if you want. But
Yeah,
music. So obviously with this show, so normally I'm running, you know, normally bang up to date kind of big tunes, and I'm building routines around them or using them in the show. But obviously, because I'm running an 80s themed hypnosis show, it's that big 80s parties hits in this one. Just sing along stupid songs that you love to hate, but you kind of love them anyway, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a real good clap along, sing along, fun, cheesy 80s stuff.
Yeah, stuff like Wake Me Up Before You Go and stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what? The funny thing is, that's not actually in the show, but as soon as the show finishes, it's the first song on the exit music.
Oh,
So
really?
everyone's always going out singing along to it. So
Wake me up before you go. That's so good.
But yeah, I endorse, who's obviously, you know, I know a lot of people around Perth would know endorsing.
Yeah,
incredible.
He is an amazing
AV
guy.
DJ,
He came on.
amazing.
He came on the podcast first 15 episodes, I'd say.
Oh.
Like, and talking to him, I want to get him back on, but he's so busy, and he's doing like feel estate beats and all sorts of stuff. He's just
great
such a good dude.
Amazing. Yeah. So when I wanted to incorporate some very specific visuals into a side project of mine, it's called the Hypnosis experience, which is I used to describe it as a house music hypnosis crossover project, right? But yeah, I needed some specific visuals for it to make it really an immersive experience. And so, you know, there was no second thought. At the moment, I thought I need to do something like, okay, just call Nick up and let's work together on something. So so the Hypnosis experience, house music guided visualization. So it's an experience that happens on the dance floor. I DJ a very specific set. We put everyone in silent disco headphones to enclose their experience. We have the visuals, and I have a headset mic on, and I'm guiding people's imaginations along to the music and also what they're seeing. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's nowhere in the world is doing anything like it. It was a weird idea which I had to take from my DJ background and my, you know, more recent hypnosis background, because of course, you know, when you're DJing, you see people, you know, just get lost. We say it, we get lost in the music. You know, you're in your own zone. You know, the term trance music literally becomes because you trance out to the music. You know? So all the music has that ability to put you in a trance, to truly lose yourself. So I wanted to put this experience together where not only do we allow the music to do that, but with my kind of hypnotic tool belt, I'm able to use some like language patterns and some imagination and descriptions to really, you know, put some people there. So we may have a real big summery vibe, you know, tech house track, right? But then I'll be guiding people like, put yourself back on the beach, you know, that favourite beach where you want.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, you know, the smell of the sunscreen, the salt in the air, the sand between. So all of that, you know, I'm stimulating every kind of sensation. And because we've got the visuals, I'm right in your ears, and that it becomes this kind of like 1 hour experience. And again, people get lost in that experience.
That's just so cool, because you're literally like in a venue somewhere, it's dark and the whole lot, and they got headphones on, they're listening to you talk at the same time whilst listening to music, but then they're imagining that they're at the beach at the same time. Just, like, it's so cool. Like,
so it's funny, it's a very active experience. So I always say, you know, because occasionally when we run it, people come and thinking they're coming to watch something, and no, this is not something to see. There's nothing to see here. This is an experience. If you're here to experience this hour. So it's been a real incredible thing. Unfortunately I've been so busy this Fringe, I wasn't able to insert it into this Fringe, but we're gonna run a few experiences out later this year.
So how long have you been doing that for now?
I first did, I'm gonna say maybe 5 or 6 years sporadically, because it's hard to fit in around everything.
Because you've got to sort out the silent disco headphones
and I
everything.
actually just noted someone else on your board there, because when I first had the idea, because I kind of wanted to focus solely on just the putting the whole project together and obviously guiding people, I enrolled Soul Bliss to come on board.
I was looking at Soul Bliss.
Because I wanted I thought, look, I'll let someone else do the DJing while I can concentrate on because at the time I didn't even know if this was something that would actually work together. It was just an idea in my head. So with my ideas in my head, I just could put them out there into the wild, put them together and see what happened, put it on sale. Will people come? I don't know, you know. So we were lucky the guys at Geisha came on board. Soul
so
came
you were
on
doing
board.
it at Geisha?
Yeah, our first ones were at Geisha, yeah.
Damn.
But at the time, we didn't have visuals, we didn't have silent disco headphones, so to experience it, you really had to be right in the middle of the dance floor, so you got that full sound immersion. But that's why, from then on, I kind of wanted people to become even more immersed in it, which is where the
the headphones
come in now.
yeah.
And,
That's
but
just so cool.
Yeah,
It's just so amazing. Have you got any other projects that are similar to that at all, like to the hypnotism and then also that, like?
No, nothing on the. Just trying to think what moment. Obviously, just sorry, excuse me.
That's all good.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a bit more TV stuff coming up this year. I'm trying to think what else is. I'm back over in Europe for 3 months as well, so it's
That's
quite
so
busy.
cool. Like, what are you doing? That you're obviously doing hypnotism in Europe, right?
Yeah,
but
so
whereabouts?
So
like,
my first UK gig is in a festival in middle of June. Just a one-off thing there, and then there was a few things like that, a few odd gigs here and there. But the reason that whole trip comes up is because we're returning back to Edinburgh again, back to Edinburgh Fringe. So for that whole month of August, I'll be performing every night in Edinburgh. But something just purely on a personal side, pure social side, I think I won Festival Gold last week.
Festival Gold?
Yeah, I won Festival Gold. I got some tickets for Tomorrowland.
You got some tickets?
Yeah.
You got some tickets
officially, not off the black market. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You got...
Yeah, I went a few years ago because I just love my music, and I always wanted to go to Tomorrowland. I had to buy them off the black market a few years ago, but it was well worth it. But I just chucked myself in the registration and just got assigned a very random high spot in the ticket queue last week. And
that's awesome.
And it sells out in about 10 minutes. But
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because I'm pretty sure I was talking to a mate of mine ages ago, where apparently the way it works with Tomorrowland is that it's all the pre-bookers, so it's like the agencies, the travel agencies almost, that incorporate it into their packages. So they actually reserve the tickets before they even go live. So that way that when they do go live, they like a certain amount's already allocated to these people.
Yeah, it sells out so quick.
Yeah,
I mean, I've tried other years, and you literally you refresh to get onto the queue, and suddenly like it's all sold out already. But,
that's it. Yeah, no,
so I will have some good downtime in Europe. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Have you been on because how long you've been doing hypnotism for? How long now?
15 years.
15 years. And so doing 15 years, have you had many like breaks or holidays or anything in between? Because I mean, it seems like every day is a holiday almost.
Yeah. So. Like I've always said, I'm a big lifestyle person. So, traveling for fun as much as for work is a big part of my life. Yeah. So, actually, and I do incorporate that too. So, like for example, if I get booked for a private event or a corporate event in Byron Bay, well, I'm packing my foil gear and my surf gear, and I'm going to stay 3 days there. I'm not going to just go there and do a 40-minute show and fly back.
That's it. Yeah.
But I plenty of travel. So actually, obviously we talked that tomorrow I go to New Zealand for a couple of shows. Yeah. Get back. I do Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Scarborough for my final Fringe shows, and then on Tuesday I then fly to Japan to go snowboarding for a couple of weeks, and that is pure holiday. That's just pure break, nothing else. Because the moment I finish that, I fly home, and then I start a massive run of shows at the Adelaide Fringe Festival.
At the Adelaide Fringe. Because so then you follow Fringe all around the world then.
So I do the three biggest in the world. So Edinburgh, Adelaide and Perth, they're the three biggest in the world.
Really? Perth's one of the biggest ones?
Yeah, third biggest in the world, yeah.
No way. Yeah. I would not have guessed that, honestly. Yeah, because Perth is so small. But
we're very lucky. Yeah, it's been... build it up over the years, and unfortunately, this is my last Fringe in Perth.
I wanted to go
just because of other things that we need to kind of get around to in it. And you mentioned earlier that these things do take a lot of work and a lot of prep, and I'll put it out there as well because not everyone knows how Fringe works. The great thing about Fringe is that anyone with an idea who can also find a venue to hold that idea. Can put a show on in Fringe. And
is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say I've just invented a show. It's called Man Sits in a Chair with a bottle of water on his head for 60 minutes, right?
Yeah.
You're probably not going to get an audience for that. Maybe not.
No, who
knows?
knows?
If you can find a venue that's willing to have you, great. Well, then you pay your few $100 registration fee for Fringe. You're in. You're part of Fringe, right?
Yeah.
So and those registrations open in July. So for me and my wife, we're just a two-person business, and we expand. With other members as we go for different parts of the year, but predominantly it's just us two. We start thinking about Fringe World Perth in July because we always run it at a big scale, because to make it as a way we earn our living, we can't just do 2 or 3 shows. We have to put a lot of marketing in it. We do big venue, 250 seater plus. Normally do 20 to 30 shows. So it takes a lot of planning in the marketing, in the designs, the writing the show, all those things in the lead up. So apart from the time on the ground during the festival, which is just the most fun. I mean, we had another sold out 350 people last. It was
just crazy. It's
been amazing. So it is the most fun, but it's super hard work. And this is our 10th Fringe doing it. So we're just gonna step away, take a breather, and it will allow us to do a few other projects that we've been hoping to get
working
to.
on.
So so.
But then, that isn't just the Perth Fringe. That's going to be Adelaide and Edinburgh.
So undecided yet. So we're still doing Adelaide, Edinburgh this year.
Yeah.
And haven't made a decision on
what's
whether that
happening
rules
next
out
year.
those fringes and whether we take a complete break. But
But then, so in doing it through the Fringe as well, because whenever you go and say do a cruise liner, they would include your flights into it. Like, are there many expenses in doing the traveling and actually going to the different countries to make it happen?
No. So what's really great for me, except for if I'm doing a festival where I'm volunteering myself to be in a festival, then except for that, then basically I'm getting paid to be there, to travel there, to fly there.
Yes, that's all included.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Literally the dream.
Which is why where I end up some really great places, I leverage that. I think my favourite corporate gig I got was a 40-minute show in Hawaii.
In Hawaii?
Yeah. So I got flown to Hawaii to do a 40-minute event, and
that's so cool.
But so when they said, "Hey, look, we'll put you up for a couple of days," and I say, any chance you can push that flight out for 5 days? I'll stay out for 5. Hey, no problem. So so I take my surf gear over and have a few days. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's been lovely to mix the life and the work.
That's it. So what are some of the countries you've been to then? Because you've obviously been to Europe, like England and stuff.
For travelling or for work?
Both.
Oh, for both.
Oh well.
Okay. I'll give you some work ones.
Yeah. We'll start with work.
We'll give you some just general travel. So work ones. I mean, the ships take me all over the place, Japan, Singapore, Sri Lanka. Obviously, NZ, we've been there quite a number of times. I've done a comedy hypno tour in Thailand. We've done shows in Jakarta, Bali.
How is it like in places like that?
Well, with those places, you're playing predominantly to the expats. So you're not playing there for the locals who may not have English as a hugely proficient language. You're playing to the expats who live there. So
expats? What do you?
Oh, sorry. So they're like the Australians, the Brits, the US,
the tourism,
who are now living in those countries. So,
okay.
You're doing an English language show to the English language speakers. Residing.
That
in those
makes
countries.
sense. I was about to say it's like you're doing it in Bali, and it's like how does it work?
It will be very tricky. My Indonesian is is understandable at times, but not comprehensive. For sure.
No, that's so cool though. So you've travelled.
So travel a lot with the GD. I mean, I think I've got a cruise ship which is going to end up in Tahiti. In a couple of months' time. But
have you ever done America at all as well?
No. I've spoken at some conferences in the US on hypnosis. I performed in Hawaii. Obviously.
Yeah.
But and do you know what? Since I went viral last year, I got so many people from the US like, come to a show in this city, come to a show in this city, come to it. So I think I could probably put a tour together quite easily, but it's just when do I fit it in? Everything's so there's so many opportunities at the moment. But
that's just wild though. You just like. You spread thin, but you're not spread thin. But you could be spread so much thinner and just be all around the world. But have you ever thought about doing like a school or something like that? Like actually like teaching people how you're doing it?
Yeah, so that's when I've ended up speaking in the US at conferences. I get invited to do some stage hypnosis training for people who want to do what I do.
Yeah.
We put those on in the UK as well.
That's so cool.
So that's I do really love that, because you've got people who are maybe they've had some hypno experience, maybe not, but we kind of give them a format to how to put a show together, but also build it around their character, because you I can't replicate me because I'm a person and I have a certain
you're an
character
individual,
traits,
yeah.
But I can give you a format which you can kind of insert you in and make yourself a bigger you in that, and yeah, so it's great, and it's just nice. It's lovely to see when you see people you've taught go on and do great shows. And
It's just wild. It's so wild. It's just been such a journey.
But for personal travel, I've always been a massive traveller. So when I started travelling when I was 18, and I just never really stopped.
Yeah.
But countries that I've been outside of working, which have really given me some great experiences. Spent 4 months in South America, Paraguay, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Brazil.
That would have been so eye-opening.
Yeah,
honestly.
amazing. I did the Trans-Mongolian Railway from Russia all the way through Siberia, through into Mongolia, down into China. Spent a few weeks on the train, jumping on and off there, and it's amazing. Actually, it's still exploring Europe as well, though. Like last year, when we were over for Europe, I will always go back to Ibiza. Like from the time I worked there, anytime I'm in Europe, if it's in the summer, I'm always heading back to Ibiza. Did a few days there, but as you always try and explore somewhere different. So got to Hungary last year, Budapest, which was lovely. But went to Albania, which was a real eye-opener because
Albania.
Yeah, that's only really opened in recent years. As an ex-communist country.
Yeah.
And it's really only become kind of quite open in recent years, and so they have got this most stunning coastline, which you just never would expect of a country like that. It's just absolutely amazing.
Holy crap, that's in Albania?
Oh, yeah. It's just, some of those places just look straight out of most idyllic postcards.
They're like a movie, almost.
So I'm going over there.
I never would have guessed that. I thought it was I thought it was old third world ex-communist country.
No, yeah, well now it's they've got this incredible coastline, which is these turquoise, blue, aqua, marine, sea and bays. It's stunning. But I was originally taken to it because there's a really good music festival there, Cala Music Festival, dance music festival, which I really wanted to go to, and tried to get there, and it was in COVID year, so it obviously got cancelled. So I've been trying to get back there. So I actually managed to get there last year, which was great. So yeah, there you go, Cala Festival. Unfortunately, that's on just before I arrive this year, so I won't be there this year. But I do get across to Europe. Mid-June for 3 months.
I can imagine you're a platinum Qantas member, right?
Yeah, I've got some lounge access, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it. All the travelling and everything you do, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's not bad at all. So we've only got like about 5-10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Because we've been going for like an hour and a half.
Wow.
Time flies.
Wow.
Yeah. But so, like, what are some of your favourite shows? Like, where you've performed, like, some of the most funnest experiences you've ever had with the audience?
Wow, that's really interesting. Just because the great thing is every night's different. I might run the show out, like, if I do 2 festivals back to back, that's almost 60 shows back to back, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just becomes different every night because obviously I have a different group of people every night. And people are going to react to the suggestions differently. They're going to say something, they're going to move in a different way. They're going to come up with something different. So it always surprises me. I think just there's some really memorable ones that stand out just because of like weird things that happen during the show. Like, actually, I mention this a lot, but it's worth mentioning because it is weird. And traditionally my shows are like theatres, big events, and blah blah blah. But we said like we'll go up to the mining sites and perform for the workers. And,
yeah,
it's great for positive mental health. And we had to stop a show once because a snake went through the wet mess.
Really?
So we had to get the snake catcher before we could continue the show.
Wow, okay. And were people hypnotised at that point with the snake?
I had people up on stage, but it's great. You can say, let's sleep, relax, we'll just deal with this.
Yeah, don't worry about it, guys.
Hey, no, this is great. Actually, I got a couple of crackers, actually, a couple of real memorable ones. So these are memorable, not for the stuff that happened on stage, but stuff that happened off stage, just like the snake going through the audience.
Yeah.
So, at Adelaide, maybe 2 seasons ago, like I just got everybody onto stage, and there was one space spare on the stage, and this girl was so excited about taking part. she was right because the seats were banked up on they like kind of cascading. So they you walk down the steps.
Yep. Like a little amphitheater almost.
Yeah. So it was that kind of circus style event. So she got so excited that she was like waving to her friends in the seats as she was trying to get down the stairs, fell down the stairs, broke her leg.
Oh my God.
And we had to stop the show. Obviously, we hadn't even started it, but we had to call the paramedics, and we had to wait 40 minutes for the paramedics to arrive and then be able to get her out. But everyone on stage was still sat there waiting for the show. The audience still waiting for the show. And I was saying, look, we can do the show, but everyone's going to be late for whatever else they got next, so more than happy if you want to leave. But it just became this real kind of, I don't know, there was some kind of sense of community about it because we kept checking in. This girl was waving from a stretcher. She went out, and we kept checking in on her, and it was really kind of quite crazy. So it's those things which are kind of weird. But then last year in Edinburgh, we someone got arrested in the middle of the show.
Arrested in the middle of a show?
Oh my God.
What?
Bearing in mind, I'm doing a 5 p.m. show. This is a all ages. All my shows are all ages friendly, right? So
Yeah.
Designed for any age to come. And we're doing a 5 p.m. show in Edinburgh. And I noticed there's a lot of commotion going on while I'm trying to do something on stage. This is middle of the show, and it becomes a bit too much. Now my technical operator runs down in the middle of the show and just says to me, "We're going to have to stop the show. We've just had to call the police." I was like, "What?" Okay. So I've had to announce to everybody. I've said to everybody on stage, "Close your eyes."
But how many people were there? Like
250 in the audience, and then there was a full house, and then we had the people on stage.
Yeah.
So I just relaxed the people on stage. Hey, sit down. We'll just organise this. We'll just work out what's happening. And there was this massive commotion going on. So then I walked up the stairs to see what was going on, and there was this. I don't know if she was on something or whatever, but she was just causing a crazy, just making really loud noises and going a bit weird and crazy.
Yeah.
But then that was
yelling and stuff,
irritating other people. So they were like, "Shut up, sit down," and then it became this thing, and like kind of paper cups and things were being thrown, and then then obviously she wouldn't get out, so then they had to call the police, and then then the front rows from down below started chanting. The whole audience started going, "Throw her out, throw her out." I was like, "Oh my God."
And you're just on stage just like,
"What?" This venue, oh my God. So anyway, police came, they took her out. They didn't arrest her straight away. They basically threw her out the building.
Yeah.
Just said, "Look, you can't come in here." But she did. Unfortunately, she came back and started, playing up. So then they did have to arrest her after that. So I think I earned my Edinburgh badge with that one. But what was really amazing, what was just absolutely beautiful, was then I was able to then go back down onto the stage where everyone's just chilled out, relaxing, still in their seats, and to say to the audience, "Hey, thank you for bearing with us. I want to show a lot of love to everyone on stage, just relaxing, chilling. They've given you a great show so far. They're going to give you a great show from this point forwards. They've got that ability. So let's make them feel great." We've got the audience was so on board. They give massive love.
That's so
applause.
good.
Got them kind of back in the zone, and off we good and finished the show.
That's so good.
So when you're talking about memorable moments, they're kind of probably all for the wrong reasons, but they definitely stand out.
Yeah. That's amazing though. It's like everyone kind of banded together, and it's like once the issue had been resolved, then they're just straight back into it. And they're just like, "No, let's enjoy it." Like, because I can imagine sometimes with interruptions, like depending on wherever it is, like not even like applying just to this, but just in general with sporting things or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like when there's an interruption, a big interruption. The atmosphere almost is left, like the energy almost goes almost.
Yeah, because my show builds a real big happy vibe and
Yeah.
a lot of energy, a lot of fun, right? So you're building that, and it builds you in the show. So when you suddenly have like boom, you cut it dead. You've got to bring that back into the room before you get going again. So,
yeah. Is there an age limit as well for being hypnotized?
Yeah, 18 or over. I mean, I do. I mean, there's no age limit to be able to
watch the show.
Someone, or watch the show.
Yeah.
For sure, watch the show. But on stage, 18 or over for me. I don't think
no, that's fair. No, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah. And actually, by law, when I perform in the UK, by law, it's 18 or over. So,
yeah. No, that makes sense. Then that's so cool. Yeah. Like just everything you do is just amazing.
It's just a weird career.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like everything's lined up, everything's worked out. And it's like, it's the dream job but it's like it's not a job that anyone can do almost, or they could do.
Yeah.
But it's like you spent so much time and effort honing in, refining this.
But
Like,
here's the thing, Alex. But this is what I think I really try and like pass on to people. And you may not notice, but this is a good resource to kind of check back on what I'm about to say. Is that so? I've done a TEDx talk, right? So
Oh, really?
TEDx, so if you find it, just search TED Talk Matt Hale, and that TED Talk is about what I call the power of probably. Now I discovered
Power of
because
probably.
I do a lot of interviews. I do a lot of media interviews, and people always say like, how did you become a hypnotist? How did you decide to become a comedy hypnotist? And I always used to say in interviews, I said, I saw someone doing it. I thought, I could probably do that. And that would amaze people. They're like, what do you mean you could probably do that? That's like, and I started to realise that wasn't a very common way of thinking. It seemed to me that most people would look at something they really fancy doing it and thought, but there's so many reasons I wouldn't. Obviously I wouldn't be able to do that. So that starts from like not putting yourself there. So I've always kind of attacked it from the other way. And I think what happens is I've always been happy to fail. So I think, there's someone doing something, why can't I do it? So I'm going to give it a go. Not everything works out, for sure.
That's it, yeah.
But what it does give me, it gives me a lot of wins. So if I had been the kind of person who's like, I'd love to do a show, but I'm not a hypnotist. How would I do that? Anyway, move on with my life. But because I kind of attack it, we're like, let's say, how do you do it? Let's find out, and then I'll give it a go. If it had failed, I moved on. I would have probably gone back and tried to look into radio, but I tried.
Yeah.
But along the way, you always find something. You'll always learn something with those failures anyway.
Yeah.
But if you check, if people want to check out the TED Talk, it kind of delves into that.
Yeah,
and also shows you how you can use that in your own thing. So I definitely want to put that out to people. Is as easy as sometimes we make this look, and you don't see all the behind the scenes. I've done so many things which I've failed at, but because I'm not worried about those failures, I get the wins eventually. From
that's it.
things.
You don't know unless you try.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing about it.
I've always had that fear of not knowing. I've never wanted to look back and go, oh God, I wish I'd given that a go, because what might have happened. And so I've always I'll try it and see what happens.
That's the way to do it. That is literally the way to do it. And that's such positive words and good guidance in a way, honestly. Like, it really is, because you don't know unless you give it a go. And if you come up with an idea or something, or like an invention or anything, you give it a go.
Yeah, and I'll definitely say that on that Fringe model, because if you're an aspiring performer, you've always wanted to do some kind of performance, and you thought it's too weird, it's too crazy, or it could be mainstream, but you just have thought, well, obviously I couldn't do that. Like, Fringe is such a good model for doing that. There's no gatekeeper.
Yeah.
There's no barrier. It's an open access festival. So think about it this year. What are you going to do at Fringe next year? Maybe register a show, find a venue that's going to have. There's so many venues which will have. There's the tiniest venues, 20 seaters. That will look for things which are different or interesting.
Well, see, I always thought Fringe, like, we've got the Pleasure Gardens, that's like in Northbridge. I always thought everything was there. But now, like, it seems like they're doing it at Air nightclub now. They're doing it they're doing it all over the place.
So Fringe themselves, the actual company RH behind Fringe, are not for profit. They run the Pleasure Garden and they run those venues. But there are more venues that aren't in the Pleasure Garden that make up Fringe. For example, I'm performing in the Perth Town Hall, so that's called the Fantasia Hub. So that's a few minutes walk from the Pleasure Garden, so it's not around the Pleasure Garden. It's on the other side of the tracks there. But that's a great venue, and there's two rooms there. I'm performing in the big ballroom there. They call that the Enchanted Ballroom.
In the town hall?
In Perth Town Hall, yeah. And then there's another smaller room of an 80-seater room, so this is smaller shows.
Yeah, because I was DJing at Long Chim's on Friday, and
really?
I walked past, and I saw your advertisement.
Yeah,
and
you would have seen me there.
I thought it was that was probably over the Pleasure Gardens.
But I saw
and I saw the things on the side. I was like, that's a small area, but so it's actually up in the town hall.
Yeah, that's been my home for the last since Fringe started. Yeah,
I've always wanted to check out the town hall, just see what's actually in there. That's so cool.
Well, one more chance to see me today for anyone who's watching this live. I'm there at 6:45 today. But if not, I'll be on in Scarborough. We've got 3 big shows at Scarborough next week: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we'll say Scarborough is selling really, really quickly. So, and they completely sold out last year with the Scarborough one. So. I wouldn't leave it too long this week if you're thinking to come to see those live
Can we pull up the tickets for them? Like, where can you find the tickets for Scarborough?
fringeworld.com.au.
Yep.
Hit the Fringe World site,
And is it the Scarborough Amphitheatre or?
No, we're actually because we need an inside venue to do the show. So and again, it's hard to find venues, but the Scarborough Sportsman's Club has got a 300-seater hall. They've got a big main hall.
Sportsman Club.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's called Scarborough Sporties, but they've got a really great hall there, 300-seater. So we're going to turn that into a bit that's do you know, it doesn't look very attractive there, but when it's dressed for Fringe, it does look fantastic.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. It's just an old photo.
But yeah.
No, honestly, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool, and it's just so cool interviewing someone like you that does just such a cool thing.
Oh, it's been amazing. I've been love chatting. So yeah.
But yeah, this is as I said before we went live. Is like I interview so many DJs and bands and stuff like that. But it's like. This is art. Yeah. This is literally art.
Oh, you asked me about some projects, and I forgot to say, I'm hoping to release some music this year.
Some music?
Yeah, well, I'm
very
working on
nice.
producing some beats this year. So.
Sweet. They're very, very cool.
Yeah. So
well, we have to get you back on. And then there, we can actually promote your music and go through it and everything. So, yeah. But honestly, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, absolute pleasure, Alex. I really appreciate the time. It's been lovely chatting.
Yeah, this has been so cool. Okay. Like I've said it so many times, but this has been like. This is amazing.
Oh, no,
yeah, like top 10, top 5 episodes, I reckon. Man. Like, this is so good.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for coming on. And then we will see you guys on... Let me have a quick look at the calendar. So, similar thing with this. Like, we're booked up until April now. Wow. Like, all I do is I just message, like, a few people, and they're always like, yep, no, I'll take that date. I'll take that date. And then within the space of, like, an hour... all the dates get filled. Yeah, straight up. It's wild. So we've got a guy called Aries coming on.
Oh, okay.
So Aries was at the Guinness World Record as well.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
And he actually was DJing. He's been DJing since the 80s.
Yep.
And so I want to really dive into what it was like DJing back then and how it compares to now, because he's still DJing now as well.
Yeah.
So like comparing both worlds and the history of Perth.
I think we may be a similar age.
Who knows?
I started DJing in '85. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. We like, when you come on next, we should just dive into what it was just like. Really go into like just all the clubs, bars, the history, because that's the thing. Everything's changed.
Everything's changed. I've been through all the formats, from vinyl through CDs through to controllers. So
and we touched on it, but there's still so much to go through.
Next time, hey.
That's it. You're an interesting guy. All right, we will see you guys this Thursday with another episode for the Infra-Red podcast. All right, we'll see you guys soon. All right.
Yes.
All right, catch ya. And mics are off. I love saying that. It's like the last things that mics are off.
Mics are